live, guys. Okay, just like little fist bump.
Fist bump.
This
We're
is
fist
our
bumping.
our first podcast
Bumpy fists.
all together. This is dope.
Bumpy fists.
All right. We're talking about the Oath story today.
Yes, we are.
When I came into the scene of the Heare Brotherhood founding team, I was really impressed first with like the traction you guys were getting on your social channels from being just really vulnerable and open. And that was one of the things that I was like, this is amazing, especially on LinkedIn. Of all places that I would think to be like really vulnerable, it would not have been LinkedIn. Like,
Yeah, I think that was a shock even me when I started posting. I don't think I was expecting that.
Well, I think that's why it works is because, I feel like we post a lot of similar things on Facebook or Instagram, and there it's like I have my mom, my sister, and my aunt that comment and like, and some friend from college. And then on LinkedIn, it's like, it's really resonating. Because I think there's a lot of vulnerability and over vulnerability on Facebook on other channels, whereas LinkedIn you can't really do that, and so I think that's why it works.
I think it's also where you have a lot of men, right? Like of all the social platforms, true. I wonder if like most are on there. Anyway, that's a little bit tangential to like what we're wanting to focus on. But for me, that was one of the things that really drew my attention. And then when we were talking about like combining forces, right? But then this idea of the oath was already in the works. I actually can't remember if it had already been written.
I remember too. I was like trying to remember where you came in along in the journey.
I know it was very close to when I joined because it was like fresh and there was this incredible like story around it. And I want to hear about that. Like, John, did you... Was it sort of your original idea of like you wanted to have something to join? Like,
yeah, so I remember at the very beginning, and I don't know if this was influenced by other organizations like Fight the New Drug or others that I had seen where it's like they required some type of an oath or a...
Does Fight the New Drug do that?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they have a pledge, and they do that when they go and speak. They have everybody sign this pledge.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, and I'd forgotten that until we talked to Clay Olson and he brought it up, and I thought, oh my gosh, that was probably part of the influence for why, because I'm a big fan of Fight the New Drug and Clay Olson and what they're doing. And so I remember at the beginning we talked about we wanted to have something that binds the community together. And originally we talked about specifically choosing somebody that you would look after and write their name. Almost like I'm their emergency contact. And then we also talked about having somebody that is your emergency contact. So we thought as part of this, we want people to come on and say, at 3 a.m. when I am struggling, who's the person that I know I can reach out to, or who's the person that I need them to know that they can reach out to me at that time. So that was kind of the basis for it.
I actually completely forgot that we were talking even about that it was originally like you were writing down names of brothers that you were going to watch after. I completely forgot that.
Accountability brothers.
But it's funny now because now we are having our journal, which is going to like go hand in hand with our app. And actually that is in the journal now where it's like you write down brothers that
who you're looking after.
Who you're going to look after. Yeah. That's funny that I completely forgot that we were going to do that.
Cool.
I just went totally rogue.
Yeah, he did, which is a pattern you'll notice in this relationship.
So you guys had talked about like, hey, you had already said we're in on the concept. We want to do this brotherhood thing. We want to have some kind of contract, oath, agreement, whatever. So you both were like, yes, let's do that. But
it was lightly talked about.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was something we knew we wanted to be an integral part of what we were doing, but I don't think at that time we knew how central it was going to be.
No,
like it
definitely not.
So I guess going back, I actually remember vividly feeling like I'm not quite getting what it should be. I remember feeling like stuck, just this creative block, as far as what I felt like the oath should be. And now looking back, I don't think it was mine to receive. And, we talk about God a lot. We're not like a religious organization, but for those listening, but
we're not shy about what we believe.
But we're not, we talk about God. And so one of the there was one night where, I'll let Justin tell the story, but I just remember one morning, all of a sudden, I woke up and Justin said, "Hey, I have the oath. Do you want to check it out?" I'm like, "Oh, he did it. I thought we were going to work on this together." But great. Like if you did it, then great. And
there wasn't a little part of you that was like, dude, like I wanted to help write that.
I mean, yeah,
like,
part of me
stealing my thunder.
Well, but then I looked at it. I'm like,
well, I sent it to you at like 3 or 4 a.m. I
You
wrote it on
it in the moment.
I did, yeah,
Like,
right.
this.
Because
Like as a
you
note.
woke up to it.
Yeah.
I put it on that's where I do everything, is just on notes on my phone. Is I just pulled it up as a note,
Yeah.
and I shared it with John right after I wrote it, because that's how we roll.
At 3 a.m., you're like, I can text John. John's your accountability
Me
buddy.
and John have had some powerful and interesting moments
in the middle of the night, on your phones,
in the middle of the night,
like next to your wives.
I've even told John before, I'm like, sometimes I feel like we're like having like an affair or something. And we're like being sneaky and we're like giggling in bed while our wives are asleep.
it's really
It
true.
really does feel like that sometimes.
That's hilarious.
Anyways, we won't go down that hole too much. But.
So-
there have been a lot of comments on it on LinkedIn and stuff of the blossoming bromance that they've been witnessing between you.
It's
There's a bit of a love story.
We've also had a good amount of fights at
Oh,
like 2 or 3
no,
a.m.
it's absolutely part of the relationship dynamic of like the old couple. What's
Old bickering couple.
the old bickering couple? Thank you.
That's
Yeah,
us.
I had one
sometimes.
of my hardest laugh attacks, I think, in my entire life.
Yeah.
I was laughing so hard when we were the night before we released this collection of our t-shirts.
I don't even
John was-
remember why.
It's
It
'cause
was
of the-
it was
Oh,
a
I do.
stupid
It was
the
reason.
buy now button,
Stupid.
It was because John was messing with the buttons on the Shopify website, and it was like we were trying to change the button from pre-order to buy now, but we already had a buy now button, so the button was like buy now. It's not even funny. People listening,
It
this
really is not.
stupid.
But you had to
the
be there, you
visual of
guys.
it was so funny, and it was like 2 or 3 in the morning. And it was buy now, and then John was editing it so I could see it whenever I refreshed the screen. So I refreshed it, and it was like buy now, and it was like buy it now.
He's like, you
And-
might as well just add buy it now, please. Like, it was so dumb. I still don't know
It's
why.
so stupid, but
It was so funny.
I was. It's rare to get me to laugh that hard.
You were drunk on sleep deprivation, and
I guess
I had never
was,
seen him laugh so hard. It was a good
that's
night.
hilarious.
yeah, I was like, it was to the point where my mouth hurt. So anyways.
Okay,
So going back.
Sorry.
going back. So
For
what-
those listening, this is part of Mike's big job.
it's
in this
reining you guys in.
partnership
Like,
is-
let's get back on track here.
his
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
That's
No,
what they
I said
brought me
said
on.
part of his job. He's got a lot of jobs.
I'm the Heare referee.
That's what it says on LinkedIn. The moderator between Justin.
He
and
is.
Jen.
That's on his LinkedIn profile.
Yeah.
It should be. Okay, so that was your story. Your experience of it was you woke up and it was just there.
Yeah.
Justin's experience of it. I mean, you were obviously on board with like, yeah, we want to write something, some kind of oath, some kind of mission statement. I don't know how you were thinking about it at the time, but like, how did you get to the point where, you took it on yourself to like write this thing?
Well, I wasn't planning to at all because, like I said, it was very lightly talked about. Like it had only been brought up a few times. John even wrote like over a year ago in his phone about doing some sort of oath,
That's
which
right.
he shared with us, and I think you even forgot about that. And you're like, you guys, I just didn't even realize that.
I was searching for something in my notes, and it came up from like
Yeah.
one of my journal of notes or something. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh,
And just for
gosh.
reference, like that was a year before we started here, or even further than
Yeah.
that. So, but so this was, I don't remember when it happened. It probably happened a month or so before we officially launched in May of 2023, and I wasn't even thinking about the oath. Like it wasn't on my mind at all. And I woke up, I want to say at like, I don't know, again, 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning. And this has never happened to me in my life. And ever since I went through a phase in my life where I completely shut God out of my life and didn't even know if I believed in God for probably 6 or 7 years. And since I brought God back into my life, I've had like 3 or 4 very spiritual experiences in my life. And I always say that this was one of them because it's something that has never happened to me before in my life. Because I woke up out of a dead sleep just bawling. Like that's never happened to me before. And it was so instantaneous that I woke up crying and I woke up feeling connected to another man, like who was struggling financially. Like that was the big thing. Like I could just feel that it was a father. I could feel that he had a family that he was trying to provide for, and I could feel that he was up late stressing about it, and I felt like I was being connected to this individual and feeling the pain that he was feeling. Like it was very specific.
Was this somebody that you had talked to before?
No, I didn't. I have no idea who it was.
Oh, you didn't even know who this person was that was in your mind?
It sounds like it sounds insane. Like I just like I have no idea who it was.
That's interesting. I always thought it was like some friend of yours that you knew was going through something or whatever, but it was just like a random like wow.
Yeah, it was just this random connection I felt with this individual, and I was like, there is someone right now struggling, and I could feel the pain. And it's something all of us can relate to.
It was probably me. You were probably like that.
Did
you say struggling financially and stressed out?
That
a
feels
father?
right.
John's like, that was actually
that
would actually be kind of beautiful. But so yeah, it's never happened to me before. I woke up just bawling. It was so strange, and so my wife's a pretty deep sleeper, thankfully, and we live upstairs. We live on the second floor. So I went downstairs into our living room, and I knelt down and I started praying. And I was like, "What is happening, God?" I was like, "What is going on? I've never experienced anything like this before. Is there a reason for this? Like, please help this individual." Like, I was just so confused. And I said a pretty lengthy prayer. I don't remember everything I specifically prayed about. And after the prayer, I kind of sat there for a minute and just kind of pondered. And then I went back upstairs and I tried to go back to sleep. I laid down, and I think we've all been in this moment where you're like trying to sleep and you just have something that you can't get off your mind, like whether it's stressing or excitement or it's Christmas the next day or whatever.
Every Christmas Eve, that's me.
Whatever it is. But I kept having these words come to my head, and at the time I wasn't like, oh, this is the oath, I'm going to write it down. I just kept having these words come to my head of the oath, what's the oath today? And I got up because I couldn't sleep, and I took out my phone and I just started to type down the words that were in my head. And I remember essentially not even stopping. Like I literally just wrote it from start to finish, and then I sent it to John, and I was like, I think this is the oath. And then I laid it down, and then I went to bed, and then that's how it came to be.
That's awesome.
So I hate to go from that super spiritual story to what I'm about to say, but
I'm
We're
excited.
all about the transitions here.
So what's funny about it, I don't think I've ever told you this, but when you first sent it, I think it was right when ChatGPT was out and popular. And so when you first sent it, I was kind of like, this looks like it was straight out of chat. Like, this is too good.
Besides the spelling errors.
You're right. Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that.
That was the reveal.
I remember
ChatGPT wouldn't have such poor grammar and spelling. It must be just
as we know. I have.
That really was all that was changed from the oath. Was I think there were like 3 words and like 3 grammar things, or spellings. But at first I'm like, I think I might have even asked you like, did you use ChatGPT? Because I was kind of bugged that you would use it for the oath, because I'm like, this has to be like pure inspiration, right? But then when you told me the story, I'm funny. Like,
oh, it was pure inspiration.
Like, this is cool. Like, and actually that I don't know if I've told you this either, but I think that was really one of the moments where I thought, okay, I think I can trust Justin. I think.
That was the moment. That was
no real.
It took a while.
It's not like you had done anything to like take my. But that was a moment for me where I thought, okay, I feel like this guy is really tuned in to what we're hoping. I'm hoping happens with this brotherhood, with whatever this is going to be. That was a pretty pivotal moment for me that kind of switched it, where I thought I can trust him.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd known each other for 2 months.
But it felt like years. It felt like eternity.
I mean, that first lunch, you guys just went.
Yeah.
Now that
Justin's like Anna, like he was ready. He's like,
now that I know you more, John, though, it shocks me from our first lunch together. Yeah. Like, I cannot believe, knowing John now, and how much he overthinks literally every component of everything that we ever talk about or do in this company. To the point where it drives me mad.
I call it being thorough. For those listening,
that's one word.
It's called being thorough.
But going back, I look back at our initial lunch. I keep wanting to say lunch, And that lunch was the very first time we met. It was incredible. Like, we just had an instant connection for sure. We were crying, but you literally asked me to be your partner in this at that lunch. And at the time I was still kind of like thrown a little bit, but now knowing you more now, I'm like, it's very shocking that you said it
like instinctively in that moment been like,
just knowing how much, because of
how thorough he typically is, right?
Yeah, thorough.
Yes. So he invited you, and then he finally months later was like, okay, I trust this guy now.
Yeah,
that was a leap of faith.
It's not like there was anything that was where I didn't feel like I could trust him. It was just more of
maybe a validation.
It was a validation.
Like,
that's a good word.
This is legit.
Yeah. Because you could, I feel like there's a lot of people that I actually that I tried to start a company with, like an apparel brand in the past, but it never worked out. Like, they had just gotten a new job, or they had just, for some reason, didn't have the time or the resources to be able to do that. And so I kind of knew what I was looking for.
Yeah.
And so when we went to lunch, this is not silly, it's very important, but one of the things I knew I needed because of my weaknesses was I needed somebody that was very good at digital marketing. I needed somebody that represented somebody that wasn't me, that appealed to a completely different audience than me. And so I had kind of already been thinking about it. And so when we met, it was just that I'm like, okay, this guy is everything that I have been needing and wanting for this movement, for it to be able to work, or for at least the apparel side to be successful, and for us to eventually do these, like, I was thinking like these men's groups, like locally, and which, we kind of are doing that.
It's evolved a lot since that lunch. But
I guess the point is that I actually don't know what the point is, other than it was a good.
There was trust, and there was trust and reasons that you were like, I'm going to invite this guy, and then there was validation,
and then he regretted it. That week he's like, this man is insane. Probably.
There have been those moments of thinking, this guy's a psychopath.
Jumping back to the oath, when you said like you had the words kind of repeating or coming to your head, that's the oath is several paragraphs, right? So I'm just curious if there was long. Like a particular. Because I'll tell you, the one that stood out to me most when I first read it is that first line. And it's, I vow to be my brother's keeper.
Boom.
And I am my brother's keeper. And I
sorry.
Sorry. He just bounced that.
We need
thing.
to change
awesome.
change the rating of this podcast now.
Because I think, normally you hear that phrase, am I my brother's keeper, ? Right? Like, that's how it's originally written in the Old Testament. Or where, and so to say, I am my brother's keeper, there's just such a powerful statement there of like assuming that responsibility, that ownership of your fellow men, that is just so inspiring and touching, and like not something that you hear or talk about very much. It's like you do you kind of thing. Like, so it was very counter to that message of.
Well, we're very much in a society where it's all about self-reliance and individualism, and you have to fend for yourself, and I think there's a lot of good in that lifestyle and in that mindset, but I think it's also harmful, especially in times of need, and I think that's why it's such a powerful phrase for our community and our society, is to say, I am actually my brother's keeper, and I will be that, and I need that. And so it goes against so much of what our culture believes in.
No, and building on that, and maybe even painting it a more contrasting image, it's not just about like, self-reliance, but there is this sort of stigma around men in particular of, you got to like suck it up and do it alone, and not ask for help, and not talk about how you're really doing or feeling, because you aren't going to complain or whine or be weak or whatever. It's all of that stuff. Yeah. In that phrase of like, I am my brother's keeper, means like I care about my brothers, and they don't need to fall into that stigma of everything I just said, right? of that, like, you got to do it alone. sort of lone wolf thing or whatever. But where we started with that, though, was the question I was curious for Justin, when you kind of had these words in your head until you eventually wrote it all out. Were there a few phrases or words or lines from the oath that kind of were on repeat or that were like magnified in your thoughts before all of it flowed out?
It really just flowed very quickly, but the first part for sure. So the first paragraph, I mean, I have it up here. I don't have it memorized, even though I feel like I should because it's tattooed on my arm now. But
you don't have to memorize it now.
That's why he did
That's
it.
why I wrote it on my arm.
But the first paragraph, there were a few things.
I'm going to pull it up too.
I mean, the first paragraph, I'll just read it. It says, I vow to be my brother's keeper, a silent, watchful guardian over those in darkness, a listening ear to those in pain, a provider for those in need, a leader to those lost, and a hand to those in deep waters. That part really resonated with me. And then as I was typing it, I think one thing hit me was as I was typing it, and I think I almost ended it, but I was like, wait. I wanted something to be in the oath that also was like, I will also reach out if I'm struggling.
Yeah.
Because
that's such a powerful part of it.
Yeah,
it really is.
That was the one part I feel like that I actually went back on because I think I can't remember exactly, but I think I typed all of it. And then I went back and I read it, and I realized that there was nothing in there that was saying that I like, because when maybe we probably should say like this oath is something we require people to sign before they're part of our community. So we have our, you know, we're essentially a social app company. And brotherhood, and we require everyone to sign this oath before, you know, they are part of our community. We require them to sign up through our website. Like anyone who's wearing our apparel or on our site or typically at our events or retreats
or on the app
the app, they have signed the oath, which is cool and brings some sort of like, it brings this sense of like camaraderie. Like if I'm like I was at Lagoon a few months ago and I was wearing my Heare shirt, and to see someone wearing that and being like, they have signed the oath. They're part of the community. They're part of the brotherhood. They believe the same thing that I believe and that I have signed. And I think that's something that I also wasn't fully planning on. Like, I don't know if we realized how much of a foundation the oath was going to hold. And now that I'm realizing it, me and John argue on everything. Like literally every component, I think, that has happened so far with the company. And we always joke about it because it is kind of funny to an extent. But I think
it's a good thing.
It is a good thing. But one thing I'm realizing is with the oath, we didn't argue on anything with it.
Well, I remember this conversation
that just hit me
really, really vividly when we were talking about the launch of the brand and the website's going to be up, and you know, and there was this conversation we had about the requirement of somebody to go to our landing page and they can't even see the apparel. It's like they go to a landing page and it's like, if you want in, you have to read and sign this thing, and then you can even access apparel. And I remember this debate of like, well, is that going to kind of hurt our sales? Is that going to hurt? It adds friction to the experience. And I remember we aligned pretty quickly on like, well, no, that it's not about like selling apparel. This is about like the apparel represents the oath and what it means,
it always
and the
brings
mission.
Us back to the mission and the purpose. Yeah,
and I just thought that was so cool that it was like, it's not just about like, we're trying to, I don't know, sell stuff, or it was like, this represents something bigger, and that something bigger is captured in the oath. And so when you sign it and then when you wear it, it means something, right? And that's what was powerful to me about the idea of an apparel brand in the first place, because that's kind of where this whole concept started, was like an apparel brand that like, if I'm wearing it, you know that I'm a safe person, you know that I'm your brother, you know that I care about my fellow brother, right? And the oath is kind of what solidified that concept, right? Because it's like, before you even got that shirt, you signed this thing. And I love that you pointed out, Justin, the part of it's not just about like, oh, I'll be this awesome brother to everyone else that needs it, but it's like, when I'm in need, I know I can reach out. Because that's the thing that's often maybe overlooked or slighted, is like, and I think a lot of guys that come in and join the app and join the brotherhood, like, they may be in a great place and they're like, oh, I like the idea of, helping others out or being there for my brothers. But sooner or later, like, we all are in a tight spot or in a depressed state or in a difficult situation. And so I think of those guys that come on with sort of that noble purpose of like helping others. But I'm like, and I love that they do that. And I imagine when the time comes that they need the help and the support, all the guys that they were there for are going to be there for them instantaneously, immediately,
Yeah.
you know? And so it's this beautiful, like, relationship.
I think there's a two-part to that and it goes well with the oath, is there's the support component and then there's the growth component, right? Where if somebody's drowning, like we need to help we need to hold their hand for a minute, help them to come out of the water. There's that growth, but then there's also, or the support, but then there's also the growth side of it, which, to the point of what you're saying with certain people, they need to come and grow together. That's the point of brotherhood. That's the point of men's groups or men's work. It's this idea that we are helping each other to become something more than we are. And I think that both parts are necessary, and everybody's in a different stage. And so we need both aspects. And so for those listening, you know, there's many people that will come on for support. That's what's going to bring them in. And for others, they're going to come, like you said, and they're going to support others, and they're going to continue to grow as they do that. But then there's going to be opportunities for us all to grow together through daily challenges, through whatever we choose to do on the app. We want to provide both of those opportunities. So I love that illustration that you came up with. But anyway, I'm going off on a tangent, but
As John likes to do.
I do.
Classic John.
Classic.
All right. So it sounds like that there wasn't like a particular repeating message or phrase or whatever. It all just kind of flowed out when you started writing. And then I guess, like, are there particular things that surprised you as you were sort of, you know, being the I don't know, the medium that was like writing this out? Was there anything that you wrote out that you were kind of like not expecting to see, or you know what I mean?
In the O specifically?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think I was ever surprised. I definitely, as I was writing, I did have different sort of thoughts. Like the part that talks about, you know, it doesn't matter. Like we've had a lot of guys reach out to us, and guys who don't feel welcome in other different types of men groups, right? Because that's one thing we've talked a lot about with Heare, is we kind of appeal to almost the silent majority of people. You know, we've had people reach out to us who don't necessarily like there's a lot of men groups out there that fit this very like alpha, like
aggressive,
like, do it, like get after it, like get in the gym, and like,
which there's a time and a place for that.
And it's kind of ironic because I feel like I sometimes look like that type of person.
I know. I was like, did you say get in the gym? And Justin,
are you mocking people that go to the gym?
No, but I feel like for most of the men groups I've seen, it's like very like high performers, or it's for CEOs or whatever. And then you have the complete opposite side of the spectrum that is like, what is a man? Like, does, you know, can men have babies or what? And then there's like this like middle part of men who are just like, that I feel like we're really appealing to, because I've had guys reach out to me who are gay and don't feel welcome in certain types of groups, but they still feel like they want to be a part of a brotherhood, right? But
they need it, yeah,
and they need that still. And I've had quite a few reach out to me on LinkedIn and be like, is it like okay for me to be a part of this group? And I'm like, go read our oath. I'm like, and you tell me if you feel like, because there's a part of it that says, let's see,
our love and dedication.
Our love and dedication goes beyond color, belief, culture, status, nationality, and blood. Gosh, sorry, I was getting a little emotional. I've never gotten emotional reading that part. We cannot and will not be divided. And I feel like that part right there speaks to so many guys, because it is welcoming of everyone. We're not excluding anyone. We want everyone to be a part of this. It doesn't matter if you're an alpha male. It doesn't matter if you think you're a beta male. Like, it doesn't matter if you're gay or straight or what color your skin is or anything like that. Like, we welcome and love all people. And that right there, I feel like has just been really cool, because our app has officially gone global. Like, we have guys in every single continent. We have guys with accents. We have guys that have different colored skin, that believe different things, that like, it's just, and I just love it. Like, I love having that. Yet you're bringing all these different types of men together in our app that have all these different beliefs and cultures and all these things. And I don't think we've ever had, so far, we've never had any major issues on our app at all.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. Like, it's cool to see just the love. Like, when we're all there for the same purpose and you've all signed this oath, it's like we're all here for the same reason.
Yeah.
What I think is interesting about that is there are still people that will share about their, I'm thinking particularly around the beliefs, right? Because, I mean, this started in Utah. There's a lot of LDS population. There's a lot of people on the app that write about their beliefs, their spiritual experiences, connection with God. Some specifically write about Bible verses, or they'll write about Jesus Christ. And but yet, like, that's not what it's all about. But I love, though, that there's the freedom to express those things that people hold dear, that are sacred to them. And it's a safe space where they can talk about that without the sort of fear of, I don't know, am I going to be judged or criticized or rejected or whatever? And along those lines, one more thought on that. I think something I've noticed that this community seems to have resonated with, I think across, many different religions or different phases of life. But I've noticed that I know some people that are going through like faith transitions or trying to figure out, am I a part of this community or not? It can be very disorienting, and they can feel very lost or very isolated, particularly in a state like Utah, where it's very, there's a very dominant religious sort of center, and so people that maybe aren't resonating with that, I've noticed that like this brotherhood has been a way for them to reconnect with community that maybe they are mourning the loss of if they've decided to, not be going to church anymore or whatever. And I've just felt like that has been such a powerful thing to be able to say, like, yeah, there's the community that you have lost, or that you're mourning as you're going through this transition. Like, you're not alone, you're not lost, like you're not banned from society, whatever. Like, there's a place for you to come and to reconnect and to be with your brothers. I mean, the quorum, right? It's like,
and when you break down, I feel like in its simplest form of what we're trying to do is we're trying to cure loneliness.
Yeah.
Kind of. I mean, like,
it's
in
a
a
big
way.
part of it.
Yeah, it's connection,
I mean,
right?
It's
like
connection, because when I wrote this oath, I feel like a big part of what I was feeling was I just, I've been in a place where I almost took my life, where I felt completely alone, where I felt like no one loved me, where I hated myself, where I didn't know if I believed in God. Like, all these thoughts were going through my head, and I wrote the suicide note to my son. And I've been in those moments of just complete and utter loneliness. And what saved my life was a very simple text message that came through on my phone at the right time. And so for me, it's like just the little tiny things of someone reaching out to you can have the most profound ripple effects in your life. Like, it's just, and sending that little message, or smiling at someone on the street, or these simple acts of kindness that we see on our app, at our events, at our retreats, that is hopefully making these men better people. It has this ripple effect, and I feel like it is contagious as well. And it's like, it's really, I think the main thing when I wrote those, I don't want men to feel alone. I don't want anyone to feel alone. But that is when guys start feeling the shame, they start feeling alone, they start feeling isolated. That is when they go down these deep holes, right? And that is like what I just don't want to happen, or for men to feel like. But
which is exactly why we all need this type of a brotherhood. That's why it's resonating with all types of cultures and backgrounds, and it's because it's a universal need, and it's something that I think used to be innate in our societies, and it still is in a lot of cultures. We see it in tribes or in clans or in all types of groups all over the world. But specifically here in America, we have gone so far away from these brotherhoods, where we're in this isolation and this loneliness pandemic.
Working remote,
Yes.
like from the original, the COVID pandemic, right?
Yeah.
It like literally separated and isolated, and then remote work became very commonplace, and then everybody was just like isolated, working alone, doing their thing. And I mean, all of the statistics that have followed that around, like depression's up, men say they don't have a close friend, or who are and lonely, isolated, all of that.
And even aside from all that stuff, I just feel like in life in general, as you get older, as you get married, right? Once you get married, that all of a sudden like isolates you from a certain friend group that you had, right?
Yeah.
Because then you become the married friend or whatever.
And then kids is the next level.
Yeah, kids adds another level. Yeah. And I don't think there's obviously guys on our app and part of our community that don't have kids and aren't married. But I would say the major majority of people on our app are married or have been married, or divorced or single parents or whatever. They have kids. It's like you go through all these monumental life things that happen, and you just start going further and further away from doing things with friends, which is something we need. Yeah. Like we need, like it is healthy to be with other men together.
Absolutely.
Right?
Well,
it's necessary. It's a need.
Yeah.
The thing I love about the premise of this brotherhood, though, it's not just like, oh yeah, we're just gonna go hang out and like shoot pool or play basketball or do some
get some beers with the boys
activity. Right. I mean, like I love that the level of connection that happens is so much deeper than what typically happens when a group of guys gets together and hangs out, and it's because it's on this, it's the oath is the entry, and it's like, okay, we're already talking about some deep, important stuff that we signed. And then when we get together, there's just this ease of being able to really be open and really be vulnerable and connect at a deeper level that you probably never would with your weekly basketball or volleyball group or whatever, right? And so I love that happens in, digitally and physically. Like when men gather from this community, from this group, I feel like the level of connection is just deeper than what happens naturally, which is I think is so cool.
And that's what I love about the oath is it kind of, you kind of pass the small talk. Yeah. You kind of pass this like networking stage that you usually are in when you meet new people of like,
what do you do?
Who are you? It's right. Like you can go right for it if you want, because you can go to the deep stuff. You can talk about why you're there because there's that shared purpose, and in a way it's it's almost our constitution. It's almost our guiding principles for here. And so there's already expectations when we meet. There's already a foundation for our conversations and for the expectation of what we're going to do with our time together. And that doesn't, and I don't want it to sound like we don't have fun or like we're serious all the time. I mean, we're very much not. But there are times for that. And that's what I love about that part in the oath, going back of just, it goes beyond race. It goes beyond circumstances. It's we're all here with the same mission, and that's what binds us together.
Well, going back to what you said, it creates this safe space for men right off the bat, because the whole like stigma of men not wanting to open up is BS. Like we see that every day. Yeah. It really is. Guys want to open up. They need to open up, and all you need to do is give them a space to do so in. And when guys read the oath and they come on our app and they already see people talking about things that they don't talk about at work or while they're playing basketball or water polo or whatever they're doing, it's like
very specific.
I don't know. Yeah. That's just getting my mind. But they open up pretty easily. I mean, we do have that anonymous questions part of our app, which is also really cool because it allows people who aren't comfortable sharing. Like there's still things that are embarrassing to share, kind of like as a man
or that you're not ready to.
Yeah, but it's what shocked me initially from the beginning, even before we started all this, was when I started opening up more about my story on LinkedIn, was how open people were with me being a complete stranger. Mm-hmm. When all they knew about me was my story. Was what all they knew that I was opening up about almost committing suicide, going into drug and alcohol addiction, getting kicked out of my house, losing my family, all those things. That's all they knew about me. And they felt comfortable sharing intimate things with me that they didn't feel comfortable sharing with their wife or their family members or their closest friends that they grew up with their whole lives.
Right.
It blew my mind. And from that, it formed this community where it's like that's happening now on a daily basis with complete strangers all the time, because they know that they're in a safe space with other men. Yeah. Right. Who are there to love, support, and hear them.
I love that you pointed that out, because I feel like I've seen this out there on, men's podcasts and stuff like that, where they're like, men don't want to
I
open
see it
up
all the time.
Yeah. It's like they're
no,
saying like,
oh,
we're trying to apply these therapy techniques that have worked for women to men, and it's the talking thing and the being open and the being vulnerable. But I love that like you are challenging that, and that you've seen that, and well, we all have, right? Yeah. It's not just you. And I've seen it in my, like, I've been hosting retreats for over a year now, a year and a half, something like that. And man, you give men a safe space and permission to open up and be real and be honest with themselves and with each other, and there's no judgment there. I always refer to this thing because I think it's pretty powerful, and I think it comes from Brene Brown. She talks about shame, and shame is such a big topic for men, right? So shame needs 3 things to grow: silence, secrecy, and judgment.
Oh, wow. I thought the other one was going to be an S. I was hoping it was going to be an S.
The 3 S's, no.
But I still like it.
Silence, secrecy, and shaming, which is judgment. How's that? No, but and I would talk about that in the retreats, and I'm like, a lot of us are in here wondering, like, I have things that I am afraid to disclose or share about myself for fear of rejection. And that's the shame space, right? It's like, if somebody knew this about me, I would not be accepted or belong or feel loved. And that is just like, and so if we're holding on to that and it's just festering in us, it just leads to a gradual decline and into depression and into all kinds of behaviors that are like to numb and to self-medicate and to escape. Yep. And so if we can, as men, create a space where like you don't have to suffer in silence. There's not going to be any judgment here. That shame, it just releases its grip over our hearts and our minds when we're able to express. I also love this little thing about suppression and repression lead to depression. Expression is like a release valve for all of that, right? Like,
I like that.
And the connection of those words I had never realized, like suppress, repress, depress, express. Express as like an antidote or as a means for freeing all of those heavy burdens, emotions, baggage that we're carrying. And at those retreats, it's not just about like, okay, say every terrible thing that you've ever done in your life. It's not about that. It's just like what currently is feeling like it's that weight on you.
Well, it's purposeful.
Yeah. And then it's like, okay, the thing that I'm feeling right now is X, Y, and Z. And just being able to get that out. We've had some amazing experiences of guys, one in particular that I'm thinking about, where he opened up to the group about something that had just been a burden to him for years and years. And it's something that he's only shared with his wife, I think, before. And when he opened up and shared that in tears, and there was a lot of fear around, but he just felt like I need to get this out. Like I need to get this out because it was such a source of shame for him. And he said it, and for him to realize that he was still loved and accepted and belonged in that group. I'm getting emotional just talking about it. It was too, so powerful. It was so beautiful. It was amazing.
It was.
And it was so bonding.
And I remember, healing. I remember that. I think it was when I was there.
Yeah.
And I remember he was so reluctant to share it. And I remember right when he started sharing it and seeing the other guys in the group like just love him.
Yeah.
Was like just, it was so cool because he had never like felt that before. I don't think. He had only received shame from it, and seeing the other guys just love him and support him after he said that, I saw how much it affected him and healed him.
Yeah.
And it was something that happened when he was a little boy. Yeah. And I just like, it was such a really, it was a really cool experience. Yeah. I remember that.
So this is making me think about some experiences that have happened for people. And I know you guys have stories on this in their maybe first exposure to the Heare Brotherhood. And it's like the first thing they see is this oath, right? I know you guys have had experiences where that just reading that or hearing it or seeing it has been so impactful for people. And the one that comes to my mind is when we did a photo shoot around the oath, right? It was like a photo video thing, and we wanted to just have a bunch of different men like say one line at a time of the oath, right? Just reading it.
Yep.
And I remember we had, it was kind of amazing. We had a bunch of guys show up, just volunteer, they just believed in it and were like, yeah, I'll come help out. I'll come do it.
Just like everything we do.
I know it really is all volunteer based.
Show up.
But I remember there were one brother in particular. He's like sitting on the stool, with the black backdrop and the lighting and everything and the cameras rolling. And we're like, okay, just read this oath that's like pulled up on a laptop screen, sort of janky next to the camera. And he started reading it. And I think it was when he got to the part that like, the I will reach out, or it was maybe the part where it was like, I am a father, a son, a brother,
it was a father.
and then and I will remember that I am loved. And him just reading that, I mean, he just started, like, the tears came to his eyes. He just started crying, and
that.
And it's
in the video too.
Yeah, that's
this
right.
is a successful man. This is a
very successful, and he's
has it together.
Yeah, totally. He wasn't like on the struggle bus. Well, he was, but internally,
being a very like financially successful man, he was going through at a time struggles.
And that's the thing. That's the thing we see over and over. It's like the external doesn't represent what's going on internally 100%. For people.
Right.
And it was so powerful though for him just reading that, to see the emotion that it evoked and that he felt it. So that's one story that comes to my mind of like maybe how people have interacted or responded to the oath and even the concept of it and the words in it. So I'm curious if you guys have like experiences or stories around that.
One of the big moments was when you went and met, I don't know if we're allowed to say his name, Carrie, but
yeah,
I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah.
Maybe give him a shout out. I don't know, but
love you, Carrie.
Just first names only.
I actually don't remember his last name.
Well, we won't say.
Okay. So John went to visit a good friend, Carrie, who's this older guy, and this was very shortly after I wrote the oath. And John shared with him what we were doing at Heare, and it was very still early on. And he shared with him the oath, and I remember me and John calling me. And this was probably one of the biggest realizations for me of what the oath could be and is becoming. Is Carrie told? Well, I'll let you tell it. It was your story.
Well, I actually not sure what part you're, because there's a few different stories. So keep.
Okay, I'll keep going then.
And then I'll insert.
So you were talking to Carrie, and he read the oath, and his first initial thing was like, "This is a little long." And
that's the thing that I was remembering. So I'm like, "Oh, where's he going with this?"
No, but we've gotten that advice before from people. This isn't where I was going with it, but that it is a little long, and we're never going to shorten it, because I've read it before, and I'm like, maybe we can cut stuff out. I'm like, there's literally not
everything
one
is important.
Word of this that I would ever cut out, ever. Like it every single word is meaningful in the oath.
And
but
it's tattooed on your arm, so we can't change it.
That is
it will never change.
That's also a good point. But after that, he said, I can just envision thousands of men reading this out loud together at the Salt Palace in Salt Lake.
Yeah.
And John repeated that to me, and we were on the phone, and I just got the chills throughout my body. And that was the moment where I was like, wow, because I could just envision it so well. And it just was such a powerful, hearing someone like, him say that, who was like a very successful man, and everything was like very validating and a very cool moment. So that's what came to my mind.
Yeah, and an awesome like vision. And maybe for that Salt Palace reading or the big stadium reading of it, maybe we would shorten it a little bit for that part.
We're not doing it.
Every jot and tittle. Yeah. No, and I'd actually forgotten that part of it.
Really?
Yeah, I forgot that story, and I remember when he said that, just how powerful it was for him to say that, because I don't know if we'd talked about it previously at our events, if we were planning on reading the oath, because that's what we do at our events. We try and start them with, for
most
those listening, most of our events with reading the oath, just so that we can be grounded on why we're there. So I don't know if we'd considered that until Carrie had said that, where he put that thought into our head of using that to start, to set off the expectation of everything we do. We're starting with the oath, That was a powerful moment. I totally forgot. I'm so glad you reminded me of it.
Yeah.
What do you guys, how do you respond when, because I know some people are like, oh, you have like an oath and it's this brotherhood, you know, like immediately what comes to mind. Yeah, right.
Well, I've had that actually with a lot of people, especially those that are very, that are very religious.
Yeah.
There's a verse in the Bible that says that you shouldn't take any oath under heaven. And so there's what I usually respond with is not to minimize what it is, but whether you call it an agreement, a terms and conditions, whatever you want to call it.
That's what we should rebrand it as. First, you must sign our terms and conditions.
Exactly.
I will be my brother's keeper.
Right. We talked about calling it a pledge. We actually were very thorough in our. Because it's good to be thorough, Justin.
That's true. I agree.
We talked about the verbiage behind that word because there is a little bit of scariness for some people around the word oath. But I think 5 or 6 people have come to me and said, I actually was, got a weird feeling when I heard about the oath, and I would not sign it. And then they said, the second I read it, I'm like, oh.
That's always what it is.
It's like, it's not like we're not saying like, I shall take blood for thee. Like it's nothing scary or controversial. It's an innate human thing that should be obvious. But I think where I think there's power is when you agree to something that you haven't verbally or contractually agreed to. We talk about being good people. We talk about being our brother's keeper, and we should serve others. But there's something different about the moment when you say, I'm signing my name to the fact that I am going to take care of my fellow men. And it's, shout out to our friend Brandy Vega. She also has a pledge. I can't remember.
Promise to live.
Promise to live. I think it's called the pledge. But it's a pledge to live. And it's a similar concept of like, oh, I'm signing my name to the fact that I am going to make an effort, at least in my head, that I'm going to stay alive, that I am going to choose life. Because a lot of times, as silly as that might be for some people, there is power in putting your signature on something basic and innate. And you see that with all kinds of things, but I think that is where it's powerful, is taking something that we should be doing and putting your name to it, and it gives you that added integrity surrounding your life choices.
And it might not be something that people think about on a daily basis,
right? But
I promise you, in the times of darkness, it will come into their head. They'll be like, I signed that oath. I signed that pledge. That is when it will come up.
That's awesome. I feel like I should share this. I got a message the other day, and I won't share out of privacy who it is, but it's regarding that.
Oh, so for Carrie, we're not going to respect privacy there, but for this person who texted you.
Well,
we're selective.
That one is a very complimentary thing to share. I think he'll be okay with that. Right. But this person, I think that they would want to keep this
anonymous.
Private, anonymous.
Okay.
So I got a message, and they said, there was some backstory, but they said, 2 weeks ago, I realized that I had 2 choices. I could either kill myself and let my life insurance pay off all my debts, or I could file for bankruptcy. Even though I only know like 5 people in here, I didn't want any of them to think that they had somehow failed me or the movement. So I opted for the latter option. And for me, when I got that, Kelly walked in on me like 20 seconds later, and I was bawling when I got this message because for me, that phrase of I didn't want any of them to think that they had somehow failed me or the movement, I thought the oath saved this guy's life.
Yeah.
And for me, that's like, okay, there's something here.
Yeah.
And there's something powerful about us committing ourselves to each other through this oath. And there's nothing evil, I think. There's nothing evil or controversial in the oath. It is, I am going to take care of myself, and I'm going to take care of my brothers. He goes on and says, I've skipped all of the check-ins. We have daily check-ins for those listening.
Mental check-ins.
Mental check-ins on our app. He said, I've skipped all of the check-ins because I'm proud and stubborn, but I've read every one every day. I just wanted you to know, even though you may not think you're accomplishing all that much on any given day, you are. I am here today because of you. This may sound really weird to say, and to be honest, I'm crying as I type this, but I love you. Thank you for being my friend. And for me, I mean, that I don't care what happens in the future. Like, those are the paydays. Those are the moments where you just say, all, late nights, any difficult things that happen. It's like people's lives are being affected because of this brotherhood, whose foundation is the oath.
Yeah. Amen to that. That's awesome.
Hear, hear.
What's been?
I'm actually going to.
Oh.
I want to make sure we get a chance to.
Okay.
So if you have a story, go ahead and share it. Then I want to.
Okay.
How should we wrap it out?
Invite them to subscribe.
Oh.
Join the app.
Okay.
So I guess if we want to cut it from where we were, I can just pretend like we continued the conversation, which is that, this type of, the oath is just the foundation for everything that we do. And I really believe that those that come to our app, those that come to our events and buy our apparel and are a part of this community, I think in those moments of need, in those moments of darkness, like the oath talks about, it's an opportunity for them to, they don't have a choice to go to the point where they say, I don't have anybody. They can't ever use that excuse ever again, because they know they have somebody. They know they have a brotherhood. Somebody's going to be there on the app, or somebody that they've interacted with that will always be there for them.
And that's such a powerful thing.
Yeah.
Like, to be able to say that, because I was in that position to be like, I have nobody. Like, my wife hates me. My kids don't need me. My family is mad at me. My wife's family, like, just all those things. And with something like this, it's like, no, like I can never say, even if I try to, I can never be like, I don't have anyone there for me, because you do.
Yeah. Amen. So I would love to invite anybody that's listening to come and join us on our app. We believe that we've created a space where men can feel safe, where they can open up and express how they're feeling, but also grow together and get advice from each other and be a mentor at the same time. So we want to invite all the listeners out there. Please come join us on our app. And
where do they find it?
They can find it on the App Store, and
App Store, Google
Play.
And it's Heare Brotherhood.
Yep.
Mike
Heare
Shirt,
Brotherhood.
Heare.
There it is.
Yep. Go to hearebros.com. HEARE bros.com.
Yeah, or the App Store.
Or the App Store. And that's where they can find us.
And if you want to, you can give us 5 stars.
Oh yes.
That'd be great.
Come give us a rating. We're trying to build
But
this
first,
app up.
download the app. We want an honest review.
Feel it, experience
If
it.
you feel like 5 stars is the right thing, which you
If you
probably
want to do
will,
4, you're wrong, but you can still review it for
your
it.
opinion still matters, even if it's wrong.
Yeah.
That's
Cool.
awesome.
Well, I'm never good with goodbyes.
Hear, hear.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love you guys.
John will just be talking. He'll still be talking, and it's
And they're like,
the volume
it just
goes
fades
down.
out.
And he's like, but wait.
Which is a proper representation of Justin's brain. He's like, John's talking
I didn't
again.
feel that once this whole podcast, by the way.